When most Americans think of the Dakotas, they think of vast open land, our farms, our plains, our rolling hills, and long roads. Nobody would expect that in the early 2000s, North and South Dakota became two of the richest states in the U.S.
When you go up there around Garrison, Newtown, White Shield 10, 15 years ago, and you go up there now, it's totally different. Someone said oil is the new buffalo. As Lakota people, we're thought of as the buffalo people.
So that oil boom, most people are going to accept it, and some of us won't.
This is a moment where, for Native and non-Native alike, peak awareness of how broken the system is and how dangerous the extractive industries are to the future of the planet.
So our oil boom hit so fast, and I don't think they were ready for it.
The stories have become widely known that, for many decades, the oil industry has destroyed and contaminated our land and water.
When it comes down to the Dakota Access, setting up a pipeline a mile from our reservation, it's basically a threat to everything. A ridiculous amount of gallons of oil per day are going to come out of the Dakota Access.
The struggle around the Dakota Access Pipeline was in essence a struggle around 21st century sovereignty. Because when the elected officials of Bismarck, North Dakota, said no to the pipeline because they were worried about the water supply, the pipeline was moved. But when the Standing Rock Sioux tribe said no, Energy Transfer Partners continued to build.
You just see that it was like, let's just get this sucker into the ground, get it pumping oil.
What happened up there was the rebirth of a nation. I was running for tribal chairman of the Lower Sioux tribe, and my connections with Mother Earth pulled me towards Standing Rock.
The newspapers in North Dakota, from the very beginning, kept saying it was just a handful of people who were making trouble. I mean, the premise that a handful could stop that pipeline is humorous, but the truth is that millions of people supported the Oceti-Chacon camp. Millions of people. We made it so the pipeline was not only delayed, but was costing millions of dollars every day.
My name is William Brownutter. I'm 16 years old. I ran to Omaha, Nebraska to oppose the Dakota Access Pipeline and also to Washington, D.C. I want to be the one going through the pain, not my people. And I'll sacrifice my legs and my body for them.
When I think of resiliency in the youth, though, I think of our Standing Rock youth. These kids running to Washington, D.C. I think of that first day when they were running through the frickin' rain.
If you don't step up now, when are you?
Before Trump entered office, he made remarks that he was going to get that pipeline built. His transition team talked about the idea of breaking treaties in order to drill for oil.
With oil production booming, towns in North Dakota saw an increase of up to 16% in violent crimes. Many of these crimes came with the spread of man camps. Man camps are settlements devoted to the production of oil.
A lot of our women have been sexually abused and raped, and some of them taken their lives because of that situation. I think it was a 7-year-old girl that they found in a man camp walking around naked and bloody, but they don't talk about it.
My beef, again, is with the North Dakota state government. So they declared an emergency for the DAPL fight and the protests. But when all the violence on women and everything was happening up north, where was the declaration?
They feel so confident because of the Trump administration that they've started to build man camps right on the borders of the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. And so women there are already beginning to organize.
My sister, she's Trig Brownutter. She is the reason why I started running. This whole thing is based on women, Women should lead our marches and our protests, and Without women, we wouldn't be here right now.
The rapes, the drugs, everything that's brought up into the communities, no one don't really pay too much attention to those, but they're paying attention to people standing against it.
Our youth doesn't really get much attention that like puts them into a position where they think badly about themselves, and they start doubting themselves, and then pretty soon suicide comes, and then that's just like pushing the pain on somebody else. They're not stopping the pain.
The Standing Rock Sioux tribe, the young people live in very difficult conditions, but the suicide rate declined because they saw people coming together with hope through prayer, exercising our grassroots power.
There is a Lakota prophecy that tells of a great black snake that causes great harm to those who meet it. As the snake travels across the land, it brings destruction. The snake consumes all in its path. For years, we have wondered what this prophecy means and when it will come to pass.
The way history's been repeating itself in just in our part of the world, they came for our lives, right? They came for our buffalo. They had these massacre kills. They came for our land.
For us, Black Hills is the heart of our nation.
George Armstrong Custer led the 7th Cavalry to these Black Hills to mine for gold.
They found gold, and then they started taking away our lands. We ended up in war. May have stopped Custer, but we didn't stop the government.
In the late 1800s, railroad companies received permission from the United States government to build tracks through the land belonging to the Lakota and Dakota people. These tracks divided the tribe into smaller fractions. These tracks were built to facilitate the movement of oil.
Why would we put so many rail workers out of work to build a pipeline when we already have the infrastructure to haul this oil right now as it is? So there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
The truth is that racism is rooted in the economic system.
It's the same way as whitewashing. We had to endure it. We had to live.
So what are the parallels between gold being found in the Black Hills and oil being found in the MHA Nation?
Many of the 400 tribes that are standing with Standing Rock, they derive substantial revenue streams from fossil fuels.
You hear about a lot of people up there fighting the oil, but yet it seemed like their voices just got crushed, boom, for the oil play.
Operation Dakota Peacekeeper is a treaty designed to combat crime within Indian country. This treaty aims to meet its goal by dispatching non-tribal police forces when and wherever they see fit.
On that morning of the January 19th, I was shot by a North Dakota law enforcement official. He fired a beanbag round from a shotgun, and these beanbags, they travel about 400 feet a second. I was shot at 25 feet.
So you saw the protesters. They labeled them as terrorists. They labeled them as, you know, breaking law and order.
But they hired people to come in, then you had National Guard come in and back them up, and then you had our law enforcement backing them up.
We have a crisis of the justice system and criminal justice in particular.
Operation Dakota Peacekeeper scares the hell out of me.
Where does it go wrong where they use their own military to go against your own people? If we're going to keep taking and taking and taking, what are you giving back?
Until we have some kind of system change, racism will remain at the heart of every problem that we deal with, economic, social, or political.
It's hard for me to be who I am, you know, because like, I feel like I'm not important. That's what the government's showing me, you know? And like, it's just hard to take in all at once, you know? And I'm still trying to push every day, and I'm gonna.
So we're in for a really rough ride, but I think it's going to take organizing, it's going to take prayer, and it's going to take the commitment of Native and non-Native people to work together for the common good of our communities.
Take my last name, grass and rope. You got to take a bunch of grass. and you got to twine it together to make it strong. It's just not one man, it's all of us.
You see Stand with Standing Rock all over. You'll see people tweet it all over the country. And it's like, damn, you know, Standing Rock? Our little res, you know, our little place, our little home here.
Some people think it's just about a pipeline. It's not just about a pipeline. The only thing that I can say about this whole thing is that it brought so many people together. The unity of people of all colors came together.
Mother Earth is in danger, and that's a very widespread opinion. It's not just a scientific opinion, people feel it every day.
She gave us life when we came out of our mother's womb. When the doctor slapped you all on the butt, that first breath you took, that was Mother Earth giving you that breath. She embraced you then, and she still embraces you now when you wake up every day.
When people say, we're not gonna be here, that is extremely selfish. And, you know, like, well, why would you do that to your own bloodline, your own self, you know, your own family, your own, you know, your own fellow man?
We forgot how to use the old values that our grandfathers and our ancestors have lived on. But now we change those all to different values that we treasure the most. The love of possessions.
We need to still work. And that means go out to your communities wherever you are and continue to do this work. Fight for social justice and racial justice, human rights. That's so important. And all this did was bring more awareness to what happens in this part of the country.